Hello, welcome to Products from the Hills. This week I am reading a selection from a book called Wishing Lake by Regina Hart. I want to thank Kensington Press for giving us permission to read this book for our program. And this is a contemporary romance. It is book 3 in the Finding Home series. And it's about University Professor Peyton Harris, who is determined to escape her overbearing and socialite parents, as well as a fiance that she knows she can never love truly. So she moves from New York to tiny Trinity Falls, Ohio, where she meets journalist Darius Knight, who has problems of his own. They actually meet and co-chair on a fundraiser, and suddenly they develop a relationship. It is a short book, medium size, 352 pages, and it is available in our ebook form, and that is what I'm going to be reading. Start out with chapter 1. An explosive bang was Darius Knight's first clue of impending danger. We're trapped! The tension in Dr. Peyton Harris's voice sealed the deal. Darius rose from his crossed position beside a box of old folders in the Trinity Falls University's archive room. The cramped room measured approximately 45 to 35 feet and was a claustrophobe's worst nightmare. He navigated the space between two of the glorified bookcases stuffed with a hodgepodge of dented and dusty boxes of historical documents. Once he emerged into the main aisle, he crossed to Peyton. The university's history professor wrestled with the doorknob as though unwilling to believe the evidence in her hands. "Let me try." Darius waited for Peyton to make room for him. The top of her head just reached his shoulders, and the powdery fragrance of her perfume was a blessed relief from the bitter stink of mold and age that blossomed around him. Peyton stepped aside with obvious reluctance, and Darius pressed down on the door's long, thin copper handle. It didn't budge, not even a little, and his gaze dropped to the floor. "Where's the door stopper?" Darius had watched Peyton kick the triangular block of blond wood into place beneath the door with the toe of her navy pumps. The wood should have kept the door open. Peyton's caramel eyes widened in her honey and chocolate cream face. It must be on the other side of the door. Someone locked us in, and there was nothing they could do until that person chose to let them out. Darius returned to the bookshelves to continue his document search. His greatest concern was suffocating on the sour stench of the surroundings. Already his eyes were tearing. Why would someone do that? Peyton's disbelief followed him into the stacks. Hadn't she noticed the pointed comments and questions people made about them? Doreen Fever, manager of the Cafe of Book and Bakery, had known him for almost his entire life. Why was she now confusing his lunch orders with Peyton's whenever they were in the cafe at the same time? Was it to force them to interact with each other? Darius stepped out of the book stacks and countered her question with one of his own. "How did you get assigned to take me to the archives?" He watched the little professor smooth her hair. She pulled the rich copper mass into a tight bun at the nape of her slim neck. When he had met her in July, 4 months ago, she wore her hair in a loose ride of curls that framed her heart-shaped face. He preferred it that way. "Foster asked me." Peyton referred to Foster Gooden, the university's vice president for academic affairs. "He said you needed information on Dr. Hartford's accomplishments at TFU for your article." She glanced around the room. "I hadn't realized the archives were in such a mess." Dr. Kenneth Hartford, chair of the history department, was retiring after 35 years with the university. "You didn't have to agree." Darius leaned his shoulder against the side of the bookshelf and surveyed the archives. This wasn't his first foray into the dingy room. He had known it was a disaster. Foster insisted the university didn't have enough money to hire an archivist to maintain its historical files. And until they came to some sort of windfall, Foster's words, the room would remain as is. On one side of the subterranean space, mismatched gray metal shelves and mahogany bookcases strained to hold the archive records. On the other side, an explosion of papers buried scarred wood desks and battered metal cabinets. They had been left behind by people who were unaware or uncaring of the importance of the recording of the university's history. A maze of boxes formed an obstacle course in space between. Peyton crossed her arms over her chest. Why wouldn't I take you to the archives? Because you still don't trust me. Darius held her caramel eyes. Well, if you would like to read more about Darius and Peyton's time together, you can check out Wishing Lake, Finding a Home. This is Finding a Home, the third book of Finding the Home by Regina Hart. You can go to our website and check it out. This is in the ebook form, and go to www.briggslibrary.com to check it out. I will see you next time. Have a good day.